So we are kicking off day 8, 9, and 10 of the Wife in Pursuit. I'm Faith Gill, so be sure to subscribe if you're keeping up with the book. And
I am Montana Russenberger. I am co-hosting with Faith today because she needs a little help. Just kidding. So Faith, what's been your favorite chapter or favorite pursuit that you've done so far?
I am going to say day 5. Brady and I bought some games, like we kind of talked about in the last video. Actually had a lot of fun.
Who won?
Yeah, every time. I won.
Get you better.
I won in Yahtzee.
Oh, well, that's good.
But all the other ones I lost.
Yeah. Well, I really liked the ditch the distraction chapter. I really just liked putting everything away. Like, we shipped our son off for the night. I made him, without nagging, put his phone away, and he was like, okay, what do you want to do? I was like, I don't know. I was like, what they used to do in the olden days, just talk or something. But I really liked that one. Like, we had a lot of laughs and talked about a lot of life stuff when the distractions weren't there. So I really liked that one.
That's good. Yeah, so Montana's been married for like 5 years.
Tomorrow?
Or
today.
So,
5 years, yep.
So,
So I'll be helping with chapter 8. And just a little FYI, if you haven't read chapter 8 yet, it's Love Pursues Intimacy. So we are going to be talking about sex. So if any of your kids are in the room, they may want to find something else to do.
We're not going to be talking about anything explicit, but...
Yes, but we will be saying the word that I just spelled. All right, so I really connected a lot with this chapter, Love Pursues Intimacy, because she talked about the part that stuck out to me was the making sure to have intentional communication. And then when it asked the question in the back, do you find sex mostly enjoyable or mostly challenging? I can honestly say that my husband and I have gone through times years ago where sex was most challenging because of the lack of communication. And I love how, this spoke to me so much, where she said that sometimes sex is different. Sometimes it's passionate and intense, and other times it's fast and functional. So I think that where we were miscommunicating is where I would think that it was going to be passionate and intense, and then it ended up being fast and functional. There were definitely some disagreements when you're expecting two different things, and that was because we didn't do what she recommended about have like a quick chat before you get down to it about what this time is going to be. But we've definitely learned to communicate more since our most challenging season. But I really connected a lot with this chapter.
Yeah, so the verse is Song of Solomon 3:3. The watchmen found me as they went about in the city. Have you seen him whom my soul loves? And so I kind of think one of the things that I first want to just kind of say is sex is a beautiful gift designed by God exclusively for marriage. So this chapter, if you're not married, is not for you right now. It's something to listen to, it's something to learn from, but it's not something that applies to you. We cannot have sex outside of marriage. God didn't design it that way, so it won't work in that context. And so it's a physical expression of a spiritual commitment to the loving the whole person for life. So the commitment was to marriage, and so you can't have this kind of relationship. We shouldn't be having this kind of relationship outside of marriage. So what we're talking about is strictly in a marital relationship. And so,
well, piggybacking off of that, I really like the part where she said nothing from the outside should invade or contaminate your sexual experience. So that's a big one. There's a lot of things in the world today that can come in and invade our time with our husband, but she said it's exclusive. That means even if you're married, it should only be exclusive about him. She's mentioned you should only be thinking about him. So I think that's important, especially with the world today, to not let things come in and invade that time with him.
And I kind of, just to add to that, it's not just, maybe things that you're watching. It's also, or like things that you're thinking about. It's also like distractions from the outside, your work, your life, your other things. It's really not fair to that moment with your husband to also put all the things that you're experiencing in the outside world right now, all those pressures. That moment's exclusive to him. It can't be a moment where it's like, oh, let's just get it done so I can get back to work. Things like that can't be the way, even if it's fast and functional, it still needs to be a moment of enjoyment between you and your spouse. You can't make it this thing where it's like, oh, I just need to hurry up and get it done so you're satisfied so I can move on.
Yeah.
Those are the type of things that make our spouse feel insignificant.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think if you come at it from a normal girl's point of view, we wouldn't want our husband thinking about fishing or the football game or work while he's with us in those times. So I think that we should show the same respect to our husbands. And then obviously the pursuit was have that alone time with your husband and to actually do a big to-do, to actually plan it out and do something special to show that your full attention's on him. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be an anniversary or a birthday for you to pull out all the stops.
Yeah.
They like surprises just like we do. So,
you know, one of the things that she talked about was total vulnerability and honesty with where you're at and what your selfless expectations are for this time together. I think that we all go through seasons and we feel differently in different, you know, times. And with your spouse, you need to be expressing where you are. Maybe just emotionally, it might not have anything to do with physical, but maybe it's physical. Maybe it's a time where you don't feel pretty. You don't feel those things. You need to be honest with your spouse and where you are, because that does affect that sexual relationship a ton, I've found. And so, yeah, anyway, day 8 was fun. It's one of
lots of fun.
It's important, you know, and it makes your husband feel important when you don't just do it because he asked, but you do it because you love him and you care for him. Because even though that might not be his love language, every man enjoys that.
Yes.
So, all right. So day 9 was gracious, sweet familiarity. So I really, really like this chapter because I think the farther we get along in our relationship, you know, Brady and I, even though we've only been married less than a year, we have been together almost 5. And so you kind of begin to know the person. And in one way that's super fun and exciting, you know them. Like, I know how Brady's going to handle something before it even happens usually. Rarely ever does it shock me. But on the same hand, it's one of those moments that sometimes I react or say things to him that I would not say to someone else because I know him so well and because I know he'll forgive me and because I know that he already knows who I am and how I am. And you have to be careful. There's such a fine.
Yeah, it's kind of like with my 13-year-old, he will just spout things off to us and you're like, there's no way that you would say that to your teacher, but he knows that we love him and we're going to forgive him. It's like he can say anything to us. But our husbands are not our parents. We have to remember that words, even though, yes, our husband will forgive us, especially, you know, if he identifies with the one that forgives everybody, God, he's still a person and he still has to have a deep relationship with us. And we're the person that knows him the best. So we know exactly how to hurt him and what to do to, like, push his buttons. So I think that we have to be careful. They're not our parents. And so we might not can say whatever we want to them.
Truth. It says, in Christ, we have all the benefits of familiarity without any of the drawbacks. That's what it means to be called a daughter or child of God. That's the gospel. And so no one is more familiar with your husband than God. And so, you know, if God treats him with love and respect and still saves him, even though he knows everything about him, we should also do the same for our spouse. And that is important. In today's passage, Solomon reminds us of the power of gracious words. He says they're like honeycomb, adding sweetness to the soul and health to the body. If we are not careful, familiarity can steal the graciousness of our words and rob our marriages of the sweetness and health. I really think that's really true. I've noticed it more that me and Brady are married because there's so many more things. When you're dating, it's like, you don't know what's in the budget. You don't know the money that he's spending. You don't know what he's like every single moment because I wasn't with him, but now I am. And so it becomes so much easier to kind of start catching yourself saying things or doing things that you wouldn't do to someone else. But it's because you know you're married and you're safe with him and whatever. And that's just an unhealthy way to look at that.
Yeah. One of the reflecting questions today is, in what ways have you experienced both sides of familiarity in your marriage? So on the good side, I know what he's thinking. So when any time that a situation comes up, most of the time, I mean, men, you know, kind of throw you a curveball sometimes, but I know what he's thinking. I know how he's going to react to something. And I also, when I'm upset, I know exactly he knows exactly what to do to make me feel better. But on the flip side, I definitely nag him more, you know, try to be his mother sometimes, and that's his words, not mine, because I know that I can, because I feel like, you know, we share a space and I'm allowed to keep telling you to do something over and over and over again, but again, it's that whole, he's not our kid, he's not our parent, we don't need it. We need to treat him like an equal, or even higher than that, because we need to show him respect. So you definitely take a look at a realistic look on how familiarity is good and bad in your marriage. I think that was a good question for the day.
Yeah. So Pursuit 9 I thought was really good because it actually takes us through some scripture to help us. And that's really important. I think we often listen to other people's ideas on marriage and things, but we don't look to God. God designed marriage. He's the person we should always, or he's the person, that's probably not the best word. He's the God we should always be looking towards to get our idea for what our marriages should look like. And so it says, carve out at least 30 minutes to spend some undistracted and intentional time with God. During this time, seek what God's word says about who your husband is. Afterward, share it with your husband, speaking gracious, life-giving words over him. So this is going to be a huge one, super beneficial in your marriage. It's going to encourage your spouse 100% to hear you say these things. So kind of look through those verses and do them together. Because I do think it's important.
Yeah. I think one of the ones that stuck out to me was the second one. It says blank and you put in your husband's name. So I would say Zach is forgiven in Christ. How does that deepen my grace towards him? And this one really hit me because what these verses taught me is that God is the ultimate definition of forgiveness, that because Zach has a relationship with God, he has already forgiven him for everything that he has done, is doing, and will do in the future. Yeah. So that shows me as his wife that I don't need to rake him over the coals when he does something that I don't agree with, that I need to let it go faster than I usually do, because God's already forgiven him. He's already forgiven him for every future sin that he's going to do. So I don't need to keep bringing it up and going over it, because I want to be more like Christ in my marriage.
And furthermore, God's already forgiven me.
Yeah.
So if God's already forgiven me, I have no excuse not to forgive him. And so those were really good questions. Take the time and really think over them and study them. And I think it's one thing to read a verse and agree with it. It's another thing to do it. Mm-hmm. So maybe look at your own life and see. It talks about it says Brady is the head. And it's talking about just being the head of the family and respecting his decisions. That is not easy. Mm-hmm. And although we might say we do it because we're Christian wives, that doesn't mean that we actually do that. So I would take some time and really look through those. So day 10 was infusing confidence. And Philippians 2:3 says, do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility, counting others more significant than yourselves.
Yeah, anytime they talk about putting yourself second, it's like, oh, okay. That's not what we normally do.
Lovely.
So today, or day 10 today, is all about words of encouragement, that it can speak volumes. Again, what speaks volume to your husband. Mm-hmm. Or if you don't, I know there's a day coming up where you observe your husband in his natural habitat. So if you don't know, like I said, if you've only been married a short amount of time, or you've never really paid attention what speaks volumes to him, what encouragement wise, try to learn those. And it's definitely okay to ask, what speaks to him most when you encourage him.
Yeah, it says, God has taught me through my many missed and failed attempts that as a wife, I have a unique access into my husband's heart. And so I tend to see women go, well, he's not doing anything, so you nag him. But if you want him to start doing something, you're never going to build someone up. You're never going to tear someone down to a higher level of living. And so if you want something better, you have to encourage your spouse. Like, you have to put in the time and use your words and love him and pursue him, and you'll actually see that he has the desire to get better, to do what you've asked him to work on. But our natural nature as women is just to nag. We nag so much. Like, I don't know how we even are not exhausted by ourselves. We just really nag, but that's not been proven to be something that actually helps our spouse get better.
Yeah, I
overall.
Agree. So. One of the reflection questions today was, what types of encouragement and love speak to your husband most? And do you find any of them challenging? I know that where my husband's concerned, he loves me to listen to him, to like show an interest in what he's talking about. And that's sometimes hard because we are different people and we have different interests.
What?
I know. He's a man. But two, he like, his job, I don't quite understand it. It's like insurance. And then he also goes to the gym, so he's all into like weightlifting and stuff. So when he's talking, I kind of just, I mean, he really just wants me to listen. I don't even know if he wants me to respond. He just wants me to intently listen to him. So, but a lot of times I find myself just waiting until I can talk about a totally different subject because I have no idea what he's talking about. And some of you wives might relate, you know, if they're really into football or hunting and fishing or video games and you're just, it's like a whole different world to you. So I know that speaks encouragement to him when I'm just interested in what he's talking about and genuinely interested, not faking it. Because again, we learned before that if you fake it, they know you the best. They're gonna know if you're not genuinely interested in that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And for me, I just encouraging my husband with what he does, even though for me, sometimes, you know, as women, we do a ton of stuff. Like I might do 15 things in the time he does one thing. And so just being encouraging to that one thing he does because he does work hard and saying that to him is really important. So the pursuit was you have to think about these following questions and then consider ways your words can infuse him with confidence. Text him or give him a note with these three things: a few words of encouragement, a prayer over him, and one verse to strengthen him. So that is your challenge.
Yeah. So what I haven't done this challenge today, but what I think I'm gonna do is we used to write stuff on our bathroom mirrors for each other, you know, like goodbye or you know dinner tonight. But I think I can bring that back up because it was something that we really liked to do in our past. But I think it'd be fun to bring it back up and write, you know, words of encouragement. It's a bug. Words of encouragement, and then a prayer over him, and then you know tie a verse into what we were talking about. I think that would speak a lot of volumes to him. But again, everybody knows their husband. Everybody, you know your husband the best. So find a way that's going to speak to him most. If he's not a texter, maybe not text him. Or, you know, like my dad, my mom's going through this right now. My dad is not good with texting, so he's probably not going to respond as much to like a handwritten note or something. So you know your husband, you know the best ways to encourage him.
Yeah, so day 31 is coming up. And it's coming up quick. So Montana's already got hers planned out because she is an overachiever.
Overachieving wife.
So she's actually going to be...
Yes, so day 31 is to go all out, take all the stops. It talks about even taking a trip, you know, going I'm on day 30.
I was like, that's not going to tell you anything.
Yeah, I was like, go on a trip, you know, do something special, get away, do something off the charts and unconventional. So and again, you're trying to pursue him. So, like, I would not book a spa getaway for me and my husband because that's not what speaks to him most, his like massages. So I know he really likes nature and hiking and fitness. So I found a cabin out in the woods, you know, barely any Wi-Fi. It's got all kinds of hiking trails around it. I mean, he's going to love it. And because I love him and I want to make him happy, I'm going to love it. But it's talking about taking all the stops. So not just booking a trip, but like I'm going to bring like his favorite snacks and his favorite movies and some fun stuff. And so just everything that's going to speak to him. So he's going to know that he's truly pursued by his wife. What's your ideas, Faith?
Yeah, so Faith doesn't know, but I'm making mine up. But what I will say is this: at the end of the book, actually, it has 50 creative date ideas, so you can check those out there. Yes. And that might help you. But if you're in like a time where you're just not going to be able to spend the money, totally understand that. Brady and I are probably not going to be able to go anywhere right now. We have no time off and no money to spend. So I understand that completely. Just get creative. It doesn't have to be a weekend getaway. That's something that she wants to do. It's close to her anniversary, and it's something that he's going to really enjoy. But we're all at different seasons right now. So pick something that works, though, and really do it. Pick a place that your kids can, you know, if your parents can watch your kids or something like that. And even if you need to stay home, or maybe there's a place that he loves to eat or whatever, take some time and really, maybe it's that day 31, maybe you just give him a trip that you're planning, or maybe you give him something that you're planning for him. Maybe you're going to go float the buffalo, or I don't know, whatever that is for you, that you can really do for him. Go ahead and pull out all those stops and do it. It doesn't have to be on day 31.
Yeah.
So you just need to express. You need to express that plan on day 31.
Yeah. I think it, like she said, if the money is tight, or you just can't get away from work or the kids, an IOU is always good.
Yeah.
I think the goal of day 31 is to just put in the maximum effort into your relationship, you know, to round out this day 31, this day of pursuing your husband, that you show him that you are pulling out all the stops, that you're making maximum effort towards pursuing him and this relationship.
And it's worth it. I think that it's worth it. Even if you do have, you know, 5 kids and you're running around like a crazy person, you both work full time, it's even more worth it because you have such a busy life and a busy schedule. And when you pull out all those stops and you take the time, maybe it's making a homemade dinner that's all like 5 course, like just going all out, whatever it is for you, do it. Take the time and do it. It really is important to your spouse, and it tells them how much you love them. And we don't do it enough. I mean, if this is the only time this year you get to do something like that, then you got to think that's 365 days that we didn't get to do anything, and now today we're making it for it, you know. So there is the 50 creative date ideas, though, in the back of your book. Oh, gosh. I don't know if you can really see that.
And they definitely are creative.
They are creative. Some of them, depending on where you live, are not possible.
Yeah.
But some of them are really good. Like one of them says, visit a zoo or an aquarium or check out a new band, train for a 5K. I don't know. Get creative. I'm never going to train for a 5K. But you know what? Montana's husband runs.
Yes.
So it might be good for her.
Yes. So. Yeah, no. I would have to train. He could just go do it. But yeah. I don't think, do we have anything?
No, that's it.
Else? All right. Well, keep pursuing your husband, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, guys.